Welcome to another episode of The Guy Code. I am Renault. So now, guys, on this episode, we're going to be talking about sacrificing yourself for them, and you will lose both. So, guys, on this particular episode is actually a continuation of last week's episode, whereby we're talking about boundaries and how no leads to yes. And it is just a continuation of what to expect when you are a yes man. Right? When you are a yes man, when you are a people pleaser and you sacrifice your own authenticity to please others, you will lose both. You will lose yourself and you will lose them. Because I mentioned in passing last week that no one likes a carpet. No one likes someone who is openly willing to bend over backwards to please them, to seek validation from them. Right? They want someone to show up in their own authenticity, even when this authenticity doesn't serve their own purposes. It takes someone who is complete narcissist to hate you when you show up and enforce your own boundaries. It takes someone who is a complete narcissist and manipulator to hate you for doing that. And if you have that kind of person and they're still in your life, you really need to refix that interaction and really rethink it. So what I want to share is that when you have a strong sense of identity, and this is something that we've mentioned here on this podcast many times called frame, you are able to clearly define those boundaries and get to understand that not every people will like you for how you present yourself, right? Not many people are supposed to like you, and you're not supposed to be everyone's cup of tea. So the reason why this subject is very, very important is that we have seen people get to this point whereby they sacrifice themselves for others, for the validation of others, and they lost both. They lost both. And when they lost both, the consequence of this feeling and the weight of this reality, unfortunately, has led some to take their own life. It's quite sad. This is what happens when someone really wants the validation of others, whether in a relationship. We've seen it, we've had it a couple of times, and that person decides to leave them after they have sacrificed a lot. We had a famous case late last year, of a guy who actually got to educate this young lady, and he unfortunately murdered this young lady and took his own life. Right? It was all over social media. In fact, he even wrote a post before he took his own life, after he murdered the lady. And this is what happens when you do not ensure that you are authentic to yourself and take care of yourself first, right? Before you pour into others, guys, you should ask yourself, do you have enough for your own reserve? Because there will always be people to pour into. They will always be there. But you need to have your own cup full for your own well-being. Do you have enough for yourself? Because what happens if you're not in the picture? Guess what? Someone else will be found to do that. So you shouldn't assume that if you don't do it, no one will. To be honest, I don't know if you may be religious or not, but ideally, I think fate isn't that cruel to have you carry the weight of someone else's existence in that way. It is really ridiculous to have that kind of responsibility, even when you are your own individual and sorting out your own life. Now you're given the weight of sorting out someone else's life. That's not your place. You're not God. No one should see you as God. And you should play your own role of making sure you're straight first. And out of the plentiness and the generosity and the overflow of your own resources, you can share to others. So this is what happens, and I really want to talk about this, whereby guys are educating people are giving to people when they have not themselves pushed themselves to that particular stage and attained that particular success that they're pushing others to. You're not a parent. Ideally, when you're a parent, you want the best for your child. In fact, you want better than yourself, because that's an extension of who you are. That's you pretty much, because you expect and you really assume, ideally, that when they get to marry you, they're in a better place, and you will feel that when you've done all you can to make sure that they're in a good place, you feel that your work is done as a parent. It gives you a special kind of fulfillment that any other work cannot. So you're not someone's parent unless they're your child. You can, sacrifice yourself, so that they are in a better position, because they are your own flesh and blood. However, if they are not, and this is just someone that you are connected to and have this very idealistic hope for a future with them, and you sacrifice everything you have for a future that is not real, what is real is the present, and that doesn't work out, you lose both. What happens? Who is to blame? I think yourself. So do not sacrifice yourself, in order to please others, and with the expectation that, and the hope that there's this desired future that will include the best of who they are. That's a bit too idealistic, just to be realistic of how things work. So, guys, I really, really think that we should operate from a place of, yes, we can help others, but let's do it from the abundance of our own resources, abundance of our own development, not sacrificing what could be of use to us for others. And now we're left with an empty cup. And guess what? Like we mentioned last week, the needs still keep coming. So if you lost yourself, you've lost them, the needs are still there, because now you've lost them because they realize, oh, you have an empty cup and I still have needs. I might just find someone else who will satisfy these needs. And now you're left with nothing. And you feel like nothing. And when you feel like nothing, those very dangerous thoughts start coming in. So I hope this has been insightful for any of you, or just sparked something to think about as you go about your different day-to-day events, and sparked a conversation that I really enjoy on X, on our Telegram channel at Guy Code Kenya. And until next time, guys, we shall talk soon. Bye.
Guy Code with Rena Osware.